You're about to discover a truth most men never realize, not because it's hidden, but because it requires a level of self-control they've never mastered. Women don't fall for the man who talks the loudest. They fall for the man whose silence reshapes the room. Before any word is spoken, before attraction, charm, or game, her body has already judged you. Not by height, not by looks, not by money, but by the invisible weight of your presence. A woman's instinct is older than language. It responds not to argument, but to energy. Not to cleverness, but to composure. Not to what you show, but to what you withhold. Because the truth is brutal, a man who cannot control himself can never influence her. And a man who radiates control never needs to convince her. Every movement you make, every pause, every fraction of a second where you don't rush, don't chase, don't seek approval, creates a psychological gravity she can't ignore. This is the law men misunderstand the most. Seduction begins long before the conversation. It begins in the silence where she tries to interpret you, and fails. The mystery you don't explain becomes the tension she feels. The calm you don't break becomes the safety she craves. The presence you don't decorate with words becomes the dominance she senses beneath the surface. Most men try to win with effort. The superior man wins with absence of effort. Because where the average man tries to be liked, the rare man forces her instinct to adapt to him. This is not manipulation. This is not arrogance. This is the psychology of inner hierarchy, the ancient, unspoken code women still obey. And once you understand how a man's silence rewires a woman's emotional perception, you won't need to chase, convince, or argue ever again. You will become the axis. The center of gravity. The calm force her instincts surrender to, before her mind can explain why. This is the first and final secret. The world of men is a world of noise, a desperate, clattering symphony of validation seeking. They talk to fill space, move to burn off anxiety, and smile to beg for acceptance. They believe attraction is built with words, that connection is forged through explanation, and that value is proven through performance. This is the grand delusion, the foundational error that keeps 99% of men in a state of perpetual, exhausting effort, only to be met with polite indifference. Her mind might listen to their stories, but her body has already dismissed them. Her logic might entertain their arguments, but her instincts have already filed them under harmless. The real language, the one that bypasses her conscious thought and speaks directly to the oldest part of her brain, is the language of non-reaction. It is the language of stillness. It is the profound, earth-shaking power of a man who has conquered his own inner chaos and therefore does not need to make a single sound to announce his presence. His presence announces itself. It's a shift in the atmospheric pressure, a sudden density in the air that makes everyone else's frantic energy seem trivial, almost comical. This is not about being quiet. A nervous man can be quiet, and his silence screams anxiety. This is about a silence that is full, a stillness that is potent with contained energy. It is the difference between an empty vessel and a pressurized one. One is hollow, the other is a source of immense potential power. The average man's silence is a vacuum, waiting to be filled by her approval. The superior man's silence is a presence, forcing her to question her own reality. His calm is not a lack of emotion, it is the mastery of it. He feels everything, but is a slave to nothing. Where other men are tossed on the waves of their own insecurity, he is the deep, silent ocean floor, unmoved by the turmoil on the surface. This is the man her biology has been programmed for millennia to recognize. Long before civilization, status, and language, the feminine instinct was honed for a single purpose, to identify survival. To identify the man who was the calm center of the storm. The man whose heartbeat didn't race at the snap of a twig. The man whose energy signaled to her nervous system, on a level she cannot articulate, with him, I am safe. His world is not shaken easily. Today, the dangers are not predators in the bush, they are social pressures, emotional tests, and psychological games. But her instinctual response remains the same. When she is in the presence of a man who is a rock of self-control, whose presence is a fortress of inner calm, her body responds before her mind can. Her shoulders relax. Her breathing deepens. A primal sense of safety is triggered in her limbic system. And it is from this bedrock of safety that all true, deep, intoxicating attraction grows. The men who try to impress her with flashy words, with peacocking displays of status, are building on nothing. They are trying to create heat without a fire. The fire is inner mastery. Without it, everything else is just smoke. Consider the physical manifestation of this inner state. The average man moves with a slight, almost imperceptible haste. He leans in when he talks, seeking to close the gap, to force a connection. His gestures are a little too broad, his laughter a little too quick. His eyes dart around, scanning for approval, for reactions, for confirmation that he is being well received. He is a servant to the environment. His body is a constant broadcast of his neediness. Now, contrast this with the man who embodies silent control. His movements are economical, deliberate. He leans back, creating a space that she feels an unconscious urge to cross. He owns his physical space without apology. His gestures are minimal but precise. When he moves, it has purpose. There is no wasted energy, no anxious fidgeting. His gaze is the most powerful tool of all. It is not an aggressive stare, but a calm, penetrating observation. He does not look away when she meets his eyes, nor does he try to dominate her with his gaze. He simply holds it, a silent statement that he is present, unafraid, and unashamed. This steady gaze communicates what 1,000 words cannot. I see you, but I do not need anything from you. My reality is stable, with or without your approval. This act of holding a calm, neutral gaze is a profound act of psychological dominance. It short-circuits her social programming. She is used to men who either look away shyly, signaling submission, or stare aggressively, signaling a crude attempt at control. The man who simply observes, without need, presents a puzzle her instinct cannot immediately solve. And the need to solve that puzzle is the birth of fascination. This brings us to the currency of mystery. The modern man has been taught to be an open book. To be vulnerable, to share his feelings, to explain his intentions. He believes that transparency builds trust and connection. And in a platonic context, he might be right. But in the realm of seduction, raw, unfiltered transparency is a killer of tension. It is the equivalent of a magician explaining every trick before he performs it. The magic is gone. Desire does not flourish in the brightly lit room of total understanding. It thrives in the shadows of the unknown. It is born in the questions she asks herself about you when you are not there. The man who explains everything, who volunteers his life story, his insecurities, his desires within the first hour, is offering her a completed puzzle. She can see all the pieces, there is nothing left for her to do. She will appreciate his openness, she will call him a nice guy, and she will place him firmly in the category of friend. The man who understands the power of mystery provides not a completed puzzle, but a single, intriguing piece. His controlled silence, his measured responses, his unpredictable patterns, they all force her mind to work. Who is he, really? What does he want? What is he thinking? She begins to invest her own mental and emotional energy into the act of trying to figure him out. She is no longer a passive audience, she is an active participant in the creation of his persona within her own mind. And what she imagines about him, what her mind projects into the blank spaces he so expertly provides, will always be more powerful, more compelling, and more seductive than anything he could ever tell her about himself. He becomes a presence in her mind even when he is physically absent. The average man's goal is to have a good conversation with her. The superior man's goal is for her to be having a conversation about him with herself, long after he has gone. He achieves this through a concept we can call emotional unpredictability. Most men are painfully predictable. If she is nice to them, they become eager. If she pulls away, they become anxious and chase. Their reactions are as reliable as a machine. The man of control breaks this pattern. His mood is not dictated by her behavior, it is dictated by his own internal state. This makes him impossible to control. She cannot pull the usual levers and get the expected responses. Her attempts to categorize him fail. This unpredictability creates a constant, low-level tension. His presence demands her full attention, not because he asks for it, but because her instinct recognizes that he is a dynamic, unpredictable force that must be watched. Every interaction a woman has with a man is, on some subconscious level, a test. She is testing his frame, his reality, his composure. She will poke at him with small provocations, with unexpected questions, with flashes of disapproval, or with sudden withdrawals of attention. She is not doing this maliciously, her instinct is doing it to see if his calm is a facade. She is kicking the tires of his reality. The average man fails these tests spectacularly. A provocation makes him defensive. A challenging question makes him stammer and over-explain. Disapproval makes him scramble to regain her favor. Her withdrawal sends him into a panic of needy texts and calls. Each time he reacts, he is screaming to her instincts, "My emotional state is dependent on you. You control me." The man who embodies silent mastery responds to these tests with an almost infuriating calm. A provocation is met with a neutral gaze or a subtle, amused smile. He sees it for what it is, a little gust of wind, utterly incapable of moving his mountain. A challenging question is met with a thoughtful pause before he answers, if he chooses to answer at all. His lack of urgency tells her that her attempt to destabilize him has failed. Disapproval is met with indifference. He is his own judge. Her withdrawal is met with his own. He does not chase, he recedes. He understands that his attention is a reward, not a given. By consistently passing these tests through non-reaction, he establishes a powerful frame. He is the prize. He is the one who is solid. His reality is the stronger of the two, and therefore, her instinct feels a powerful pull to enter his reality, to shelter in his stability. This is the essence of the mirror effect. A woman's desire is not an independent entity. It is, in large part, a reflection of the man's perception of himself. She feels for you what you subliminally communicate you feel about yourself. If your behavior betrays a deep-seated belief that you are not enough, that you need her to complete you, her instinct will reflect that right back at you. The man who is truly self-sufficient, who genuinely enjoys his own company, who pursues his own purpose with or without a woman by his side, radiates a powerful energy of wholeness. His behavior says, "I am complete. My life is full. You are a welcome addition, but not a necessary component." This is the most attractive stance a man can take. It creates a dynamic where she feels she must qualify for a place in his already fulfilling life. The roles are reversed. He is not auditioning for her, she is auditioning for him. Now, let's talk about the social energy field. A woman's perception of a man is never formed in a vacuum. She is a master at reading social cues. She watches how other people react to him. She observes the dynamic he has with other men and other women. The average man, when he is focused on one woman, tends to ignore the rest of the room. He tunnels his vision, which communicates a high level of need and investment. The superior man operates as the master of his entire environment. He is not just present with her, he is present in the room. His awareness is expanded. He treats the server with the same calm respect he treats her. Other men defer to him subtly, not because he is aggressive, but because his centered presence makes them feel less certain of their own. Other women look at him, drawn in by the same gravitational force. The woman he is with sees all of this. Her instinct is a calculator of social value. When she sees that the environment itself seems to bend to his presence, that people orbit him, that he is the calm, respected center of the social system, his value in her eyes skyrockets. He hasn't said a word to impress her, yet he has demonstrated his power in the most undeniable way possible. He has shown her that his inner mastery is so profound that it radiates outward, shaping the reality of those around him. She doesn't just hear that he is a man of high value, she feels it in the collective response of the room. The respect of the world is the ultimate aphrodisiac, because it confirms her own instinctual reading of him. His power is not a claim, it is a socially verified fact. The ultimate expression of this philosophy is the absence of effort in the face of her beauty. Beauty is a form of power. A beautiful woman is used to men crumbling in her presence. She is used to them becoming nervous, agreeable, and overly complimentary. Their fawning is the background noise of her life. It is predictable, and therefore, boring. It confirms her power, but it does not challenge her. The man who can stand in the presence of a beautiful woman and remain completely unmoved, completely centered in himself, is a revelation. His calm is not an insult, it is the highest compliment. It tells her, your beauty is noted, but it does not have power over me. My inner world is stronger than your external appearance. This creates an immediate and powerful cognitive dissonance in her mind. For perhaps the first time, her primary weapon is ineffective. She is faced with a man who is not a reaction to her, but an action in and of himself. This forces her to question her own power, her own place in the hierarchy. And it makes her intensely curious about the source of his inner strength. What does this man have inside of him that is so solid, so real, that the sight of her does not shake him? She will feel an almost magnetic urge to find out, to get closer, to see if she can be the one to finally crack his composure. But she will fail, because his composure is not a performance for her benefit. It is the core of who he is. It is the result of his inner work, his self-discipline, his conquest of his own internal demons. So the journey is not outward. It is not about learning the right lines or the perfect techniques. Those are the tools of the man who is trying to build a convincing facade. The true path is inward. It is the brutal, lonely, and ultimately liberating work of mastering yourself. It is about building an inner life so rich, a sense of purpose so strong, and a core of self-respect so unshakable that the approval or disapproval of any single person, no matter how beautiful, becomes irrelevant. It is about becoming the source of your own emotional weather. It is about finding a silence within yourself that is so profound that the noise of the world, with its demands and its judgments, simply fades away. When you reach this state, you no longer play the game of seduction. You become the game. Your presence is the board, your silence sets the rules, and your inner calm is the prize she never knew she was desperately seeking. She will not surrender to you. She will surrender to the feeling of peace and certainty she experiences in your presence. She will surrender to the reflection of the man you have become. And her surrender will feel like coming home, a return to the natural order of things, where the chaos of the feminine is drawn to, and beautifully contained by, the profound, immovable stillness of the masculine core. The world of men will continue to shout, to boast, to perform. Let them. You will be the silent center, the immovable axis. And you will find that in a world screaming for attention, the man who does not need it is the only one who truly commands it. This is not a technique you learn, but a state you achieve. It's the final frontier of masculine development, and it's a path few men have the courage to walk. But for those who do, the rewards are absolute. It's about becoming the man you were always meant to be, before the world told you to be loud. If you've listened this far, it's because you recognize the truth in these words. You're tired of the games, the techniques, and the exhausting effort that leads nowhere. You feel that there is a deeper level of power and presence available to you, but you don't know how to unlock it. The principles I've shared today are the map, but the journey is one you must walk yourself. If you are ready to stop being a participant in the game and become the architect of your own reality, if you are ready to cultivate the unshakable inner core that makes all of this not just possible, but inevitable, then I invite you to take the next step. Click the subscribe button below to join our exclusive program, the Sovereign Man Protocol. This isn't another course on pickup lines or dating hacks. This is a deep, transformative system for forging the inner self-control and silent mastery we've discussed. It is for the man who is done seeking approval and is ready to become the source of his own power. This path is not for everyone. But if you are one of the few who are ready to master the silence and command the respect you deserve without saying a word, then click the link. Your transformation begins now.